for me, the building process is exciting, and I like conceptualizing things. I like brainstorming. I like creating ideas. And so that was fun. So I had a harder time noticing in the midst of that it's not actually what I want to do. And once I launched and I looked down the path, and what I saw is I'm only going to be a CEO the rest of my life. I don't want to do that. I want to be a practitioner. I want my hands on people. I want to interact with people one-to-one and make that kind of difference. And so that was kind of the root of where I was like, no, it's not for me. I don't want to be a CEO.
You're listening to the Midlife with Courage podcast. This is where women in midlife come for inspiration, motivation, and sometimes a little education to help them flourish after 40. Let's get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Midlife with Courage. I am Kim Benoit, your host. Today, I have the beautiful Emily Jacobson with me. Welcome to the podcast, Emily.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm happy to talk to you today. We've been wanting to do this for quite some time, but Emily is a person local to me. She is a business owner and a fabulous human, and I'm just going to let you introduce yourself a little bit, Emily. Tell us where in the world you are and what you do.
I'm Emily Jacobson. I'm an acupuncturist. Actually wear many hats. I'm an acupuncturist. I'm a Tai Chi instructor. I'm a fitness instructor. I'm a big business owner, facilitator, marketer. Acupuncture is really kind of my main job that I do on a regular basis.
Wonderful.
How I interact with people.
So tell us about a time in your life when you have felt courageous or showed courage somehow.
Yeah, it's such a good question because it really can show people who we are inside when we dive into that question. I had an unfortunate situation of having to leave a business that I had started and leave the facility that I was in unexpectedly. And I had to really go beyond the pain that I had around that and build something great. And that's how I actually started Healing Roots. And instead of feeling stuck in the woes of, oh, I have to leave in an uncomfortable way, then I just went towards, well, what do I do with this? And how do I make this amazing? And so that's where I leaned into it and built something really big and awesome.
Yeah, that's a hard thing to do. We've been programmed to, I don't know, almost wallow when bad things happen.
Right.
Maybe that's just me, but just, you want to wallow in it for a while and just feel icky. And then at some point you just have to say, what
And the
can I do
human
with this?
brain wants to feel that pain so that we can protect ourselves later,
Right.
and so we have to override that because it's just kind of like the lizard part of the brain, not the higher part of the brain, so we don't really need that kind of protection, but our brain wants to protect us from that. So you need to choose to move beyond it.
Yes, choose. It's a choice. Everything's a choice. Love it.
Right.
So you mentioned Healing Roots, and tell the listeners what that is.
It is a wellness center, and we have a clinic with a bunch of different practitioners. Everybody runs their own business in the clinic. We've got acupuncture, Reiki, massage, life coaching, one-to-one grief support, cranial sacral therapy. We've got 6 treatment rooms, multiple massage therapists. And then we have a studio, and it's just gorgeous.
It is. I've seen it.
And within the studio, it's not just a studio. Typically, when you think of studio, you think of yoga classes. We do have an abundance of yoga classes, but we also like to look at it like it's a classroom. It's an education room. So we do all kinds of different things. We do meditation. We do sound baths. These are kind of typical and common within like a yoga studio setting. But we also have, like, I'll be hosting a book club soon on the book called Fast Like a Girl. We've had menopause classes and breast health classes and all kinds of different things that are geared more towards education, not just specific movement.
Yeah, I love that. I think, is this a new, like a different concept? I don't see a lot of, like you said, yoga studios bringing so many different modalities in.
I don't know. I mean, it's just what my heart needs to do, I feel like I'm an educator at heart, and I really want to get out there and help people make their lives better. And I know that there is such an array of what reaches people. And so I think that that's where my drive to have huge variety like that comes from, and just interacting with so many people over the years. I was a massage therapist before I became an acupuncturist. I've been doing body work my entire adult life, and so I've really gotten to know people and their needs in the world of health and wellness. And it's not just one type of thing. I mean, it's not just the classics. And so that's kind of my big push, is to make sure that everybody has an option, because everybody deserves.
Let's go back to talk a little bit about you, but I also want to come back to this. What made you decide to go into this kind of a field, the massage therapy, the acupuncture? What motivated you to do that? Because I'm assuming that's not something you said you wanted to do it your whole adult life. So
Right.
I love to ask about stories, like transformation stories. So
right. So I actually thought that maybe I would become a baker. I do love to bake, and I do love sweets. And I was a baker at a Schlotsky's Deli. I lived out in North Idaho for 3 years when I was a young adult, and I was torn on what I wanted to do. I knew I needed to go to school and further my life. And I was like, I think I'll become a pastry chef. Thank goodness I didn't, because I'd have eaten everything.
I think that would be the hard part of being a cook or baker.
And my mom was actually in massage school back here in Hudson at the time. And I was talking to her about, I'm ready to do something. And she's like, come back home and go to massage school with me. And I was like, okay.
All right, no problem.
But at the same time of thinking about being a baker, I was thinking about being an elementary school teacher. I thought I would do baking so that I could go to university. I wanted to get some kind of quick career so that I could actually become an elementary school teacher, because I just have always loved kids. And while I was in massage school doing that quick career concept, I got my hands on people and I was like, oh boy, this is where it's at. And I thought to myself, I can't teach and rub people, I'll get in trouble, right?
Yeah.
But I sure can have my hands on people and teach them. You know,
Sure.
I can be a teacher no matter what I'm doing. And so that's what clicked.
Wow. Thanks, Mom.
I know, right?
Do you think
moms do tend to know things?
Yeah, I know. So I wonder if your mom kind of saw something in you that she thought, I think Emily would do this, would be okay with this.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I know in the big picture, she's really seen that a lot of the things, so she ended up not having a massage career. Her shoulders kind of gave out quickly. And so many of the things, she's told me this before, that so many of the things that she's looked into, she wanted to become an herbalist. She thought about becoming an acupuncturist. And the path just wasn't there for her at the time. I mean, there was a little more resistance in the world for jumping into that kind of field. And so she just put down the roots for me to really walk that path. And she feels really good about that.
Oh, that's cool. Healing roots.
Healing roots. That's right.
You said it. I love that.
Yeah.
So we kind of wanted to talk a little bit about pivoting. We talked about pivoting in business, because you started your clinic and you started your business one way and you kind of have changed a little bit. Do you want to talk about that and about pivoting and, in general?
Yeah, for sure. So I want to say that I took an entrepreneur training course 2 years ago, and because I had this big business growth plan in mind that I wanted to learn specifically how to run that plan. And when I walked into that class, the teacher, Maren Valentine, had said that there was really only one big piece of homework that we needed to do, and that was a pivot. We had to have some sort of change in our plan by the end of the class. And I was like, I don't know what she's talking about. I got my plan figured out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it turned out to be the most valuable thing.
She's pretty smart, that Maren.
She's pretty smart. And so, I didn't realize how much I had already done it in the past, but just having that purposeful, conscious element of pivot, knowing that business doesn't always end up looking like what we thought it was going to look like. And we do need to shift and change with that, even though we are in business for ourselves, because hopefully we've started a business because of our own passions. We're really in business for the community. We're really in business for the greater population of people. And so we do need to meet their needs. And sometimes what we had in mind isn't really what they need. And so helping to shift our mindset into, whoop, okay, I'm going to shift and look at what they need and pivot the business.
Yeah.
So I'd really laid out this big business plan that I went through the entrepreneur training course for. And after it was done, I spent a good chunk of money on building this. I spent a year and a half building this plan. It was corporate wellness, bringing corporate wellness to the world in all kinds of good ways. And I do think it's a great idea. 2 weeks into launching it, I said, actually, it's not for me.
It only took you 2 weeks. Wow.
Yeah. And I think that for me, the building process is exciting, and I like conceptualizing things. I like brainstorming. I like creating ideas, and so that was fun. So I had a harder time noticing in the midst of that it's not actually what I want to do. And once I launched and I looked down the path, and what I saw is I'm only going to be a CEO the rest of my life. I don't want to do that. I want to be a practitioner. I want my hands on people. I want to interact with people one to one and make that kind of difference.
Mhm.
And so that was kind of the root of where I was like, no, it's not for me. I don't
Yeah.
want to be a CEO. I do like planning. I can still do that. I can still create programs with being an individual practitioner rather than doing it
Right.
just for the greater good.
Right. I think it's amazing that you recognize that quickly for one thing. And then you said,
Thank you.
yeah, instead of, well, I'm just going to keep chugging away at it and it might work. And you probably would have ended up just, in a horribly bad place if you would have
Yeah,
just kept going. I
yes.
think a lot of us do that. Um,
Yeah,
and it doesn't just have to be business. It could be other things too. Um,
right.
you might
Right.
decide you go down one path and go down a little bit and you're like, ah, nope.
Right. I just actually learned a couple weeks ago, I just learned this phrase that it's new to me. It might not be new to other people, but it was new to me. And I don't know if maybe not all of us, but a lot of us have heard of toxic masculinity,
Hmm.
but I don't think that we so much think about toxic femininity.
Ooh.
And I know, right?
Hmm.
What is that?
Yeah.
And what I understood of that when I first learned this is it is our ability to just tolerate and push through and just do and
Mm.
bear the pain and like it's
Yeah.
okay, I got this, it's okay,
Oh my God.
I can keep doing it, I can keep doing it. And I don't want to live that way. I
Yeah.
want to feel really good inside and I just want to thrive.
Yeah.
So,
I have not heard it called that, but I've I've done it.
right? Totally.
You know?
In my mind's eye, I looked at all my friends when I learned this. I was like, oh, yep, 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 yep. All of us. Oh, we're all doing it.
Yeah, for sure. And even like
Hmm.
this might be a strange example of it, but when I was a nurse and I would do my 3-day weekends and 12-hour shifts, I'd be so proud of myself because I went the whole shift without taking a break and or eating. I'm like, what the heck was I thinking? That was really stupid, but I just had to keep doing it because, I could do it and I could prove that I could do it. Like, you're hurting
Right.
yourself.
That's how we prove we're strong and capable.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Toxic femininity. I love it. I mean, I don't
Toxic
love it, but I love
femininity.
that there's a label for it. Now we can,
Right. And often when we name it, we can tame it.
yeah, for sure. I love that. Awesome.
Hmm.
I learned something new today. Yay. So, do you think when we pivot, do you think it's become, I guess, do you think if you had experienced that as a younger person, you would have been so quick to pivot or to realize it and change?
Yeah, that's a really good question too. I mean, obviously, hopefully, as we get older, we get wiser, and that comes from experience and
Yeah.
being able to reflect on our experiences. So, I mean, I think if I look back, I think I've definitely done a lot of quick and easy pivots. Go back to the example of my mom calling me while I was in North Idaho and saying, come home and go to massage school. I changed in a month. I was like, okay, let's go. And I moved right home. But I do think that there's also that element of like, sticking with it and having some toxic femininity, and I can handle this, I can keep bearing through even though it's maybe not the best fit. I've definitely done that too. I think that it's been easier to recognize as I get older that, oh, it's time, this isn't working, I'm not going to keep doing this.
Yeah.
And hopefully I just keep getting better at it. Hopefully I see it before.
Yeah, right. Like, please give me a little vision quicker, earlier
Yeah.
in this process.
Right.
But I think too, Emily, as we get older too, we tie less importance to what we're doing. And I don't know if I'm saying that right, but if something doesn't work out, I guess I personally am like, oh, okay, well, that didn't work. Let's try something
Right.
else.
Right.
And what did I learn? And now I'm starting to evolve and I'm saying, well, what did I learn from that? And
Yeah.
what can I use to move forward? You
Right.
know?
How do we make this useful? It's an
No?
important aspect to hold on to, is that whole
Yeah.
growth process, because we can have experiences and not grow from them.
Hmm.
And then that's when we tend to repeat them,
Hmm.
but as soon as we get that reflection and hindsight, then we can really make sure that we're not repeating those patterns.
Right, right. Oh, we're so smart as we get older.
Thankfully.
Yes, thank goodness. Oh my gosh. Yeah, so I love that you were talking about the different modalities that you use at the clinic and how people are wanting them. I think that's kind of what you were talking about a little bit.
Yeah.
Do you think, I mean, I love that that's happening for one thing. I don't know if I've talked with you about this, but our healthcare system, I I should put that in quotes, is hopefully changing.
Thick care.
Exactly. That's what I wanted to say. But okay, you said it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a sick care system. It really is. And
Yeah.
yeah. So do you think, I feel like there's, and maybe just because I'm in it, I'm in this sphere, that there are people looking for more, what we call it, complementary alternative medicine, the CAMs, but more natural, more letting our bodies do the work that they're supposed to do. Do you see that?
Right. Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I
Yeah.
think people are coming to understand that wellness and our well-being is the route to preventative medicine. And if we're not taking care of that, that's when we tend to get sick. And then even it is a way to get unsick.
Hmm.
Let's to get well, right?
Right, right,
And so using those modalities rather than just taking pills, getting injections. I mean, and there is a time and place for that. I am not
right.
opposed to that. I just feel like it can be overused, and practitioners are not looking towards the wellness department to look at it as medicine. But the patients are, they're starting to realize that, oh, I kind of need this because guess what? I feel really good.
Right? Yeah. It works. These things work.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
had acupuncture done before and it's amazing. And,
It's
the
amazing.
Reiki and healing touch and all these things that are supposed to be like woo woo or whatever. No, they're
Right.
they're
Right.
real.
Right. Well, and the way that I like to, I really want to speak both languages.
Sure.
Clearly I've been rooted in the woo-woo world for the majority of my adult life. But I do love the world of science and
Mhm.
modern medicine. And so what I like to describe is that with every single one of these modalities, we're calming our nervous system. And our nervous system is the key to all wellness. Nothing can heal if our nervous system is dysregulated. I mean, that's just the way that the nervous system is. So everything that you do, if you're doing yoga, if you're doing breath work, if you're doing Reiki, you're getting acupuncture, you're getting a massage, you're calming your nervous system. And that's when the body can do the healing. It won't heal if it's dysregulated. So that's
Right.
step one, calm the nervous system. And then these
Yeah.
modalities, they have their own way of doing some additional healing. But I really believe that's the first step, is it's calming the nervous system.
Yeah, for sure. And I think what you're saying is related to the cortisol levels in our body. Speaking from the nurse side of me, but
Yes. Yes.
l- lowering those cortisol levels is the key to so many things. Like you said, feeling healthy or getting healthy, perimenopause, all those symptoms, that's huge. I've learned that
Yeah.
in the last year.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, very much learned that. So, yeah, these, like we said, that's just lowering that nervous system, and then your body can actually do what it's supposed to be doing. helping you feel better and making itself
Yes.
feel better. So,
Optimizing all of our systems. When
yeah,
we have high cortisol, our body is looking to fight and run from a bear. And when
yeah,
we think we need to be running from a bear, we can't digest anything because what's the point in that?
right.
I just learned a really neat concept of why when our nervous system is dysregulated and our cortisol levels are high, why we tend towards having heart disease and heart attacks is the clotting factors increase because if we're going to be scraped by a tiger or a bear, our blood has to clot fast, right? And so our clotting factors
Oh,
go up. And so, but we don't have any wounds to heal. So it just kind of hangs in our blood vessels and then we
oh my
have heart
gosh.
disease.
I have never heard that before, but that totally makes
I
sense.
loved it, right?
Yeah, yeah. Wow, that's
So, I
amazing.
mean, it really says that that is an unhealthy way to live,
Yeah,
and our systems are not optimized when we have high cortisol and our nervous system is dysregulated. So, first step,
yeah. There you
calm
go.
down.
Calm down. I know, and it's not to be flippant about it because it really is.
No,
Like
right.
that's something we need
Yes.
to do. Yeah, it's
Yes.
I wish there was a magic switch, but there's not. You have to do a little work for it. So
You do
anyway,
have to do the work. Yeah. And that's what we are here for is to like facilitate doing the work and giving you a
yeah.
space to step in and let us help you do the work and
Yeah.
give guidance
Yeah.
in a huge array of ways.
Yeah, and so if a person comes to your clinic, are you finding that they're coming for a certain practitioner, or are they seeing the concept that there's a lot of different people there, or how does that all work?
Ooh, I haven't investigated on that.
Oh,
If
interesting.
it's because of the variety or if I mean, I think it's probably a little bit of both. I mean, they're
Okay.
like I said, all of the practitioners, they run their own business.
Yeah.
So plenty of people are coming in specifically for that one person.
Okay.
And then they see, oh, and then there's this cool class. Oh, there's sound bath and acupuncture. Oh, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then they kind of expand into more options. Yeah, I would guess that it's probably a little more rooted in that. And that's where it's helpful to have collaborative care. You have multiple practitioners, they bring in all kinds of different people and we refer people to each other, like,
I
oh,
was
I
going to
think you
ask
could
about
probably
that.
use some Reiki. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. And because not one size fits all for anybody. That's not the case. So, there isn't one modality that does all the good stuff.
Right.
That's why we have a bunch of options.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we definitely we appreciate that aspect and we utilize the collaborative care piece of where we're at.
Yeah. I love that it makes it easier too for people to know it's one place where I can go to get the different things, different modalities and classes and stuff like you said. I think it's a great concept. I wish there was more of it around.
Yeah, thank you. I do think it is growing the idea of wellness centers of having a little bit of like the studio aspect and the clinic aspect. I definitely am seeing a little more of it, but I think it still sticks with what you said, like yoga studios, rather than more like an education room.
Yeah, right. How long have you had the clinic now? I'm trying to remember. I remember because I
Uh,
went in there when it was just wasn't even done yet.
oh yeah, right. Construction, January 3rd of 2021.
Okay. Okay. So what do you see for the future for you and the clinic?
Well, for me personally, I have been embarking on growing as a practitioner now that I have let go of being that CEO. And so I am halfway through perimenopause and menopause course so that I can
Oh.
become a hormone specialist. And really, I'm 46, I'm going through things, it's the best way to learn.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I'm and I'm recognizing the need that's out there that women are not supported. They don't have the education around what's going on with their bodies. And then what do you do?
Yeah.
So I am making another pivot in my life.
Love it.
And yeah, I'm really excited for that piece to come into play.
Does that mean if you're going to be a hormone specialist, what will you be able to do?
So this is lifestyle management. So it's not, I mean, acupuncture is still a huge part of it, acupuncture, herbal medicine, but also really teaching women how to manage their lifestyles and manage their diet around what their hormones are needing.
Hmm.
It's a huge piece of that. We just talked about the nervous system. Like you can't, you mentioned like yes, it's a huge part of managing perimenopause is regulating our cortisol levels. And that takes work. It's not just a shot. It's not just even a needle or a hands-on Reiki. I mean, all of that helps, but you have to do things on your own. So educating
Right.
women on how to do that, educating women on how to manage their diet so that it works with the hormones. I mean, there are different types of foods that estrogen wants. There are different types of foods that progesterone wants. And so eating differently throughout the month to help to regulate, called cycle syncing. And it's really powerful. I've been doing it for almost a year and it has really changed a lot for me.
Awesome. I'd love to have you back and we can talk about that some more
Yeah,
because that could be a whole episode too. That'd be awesome.
totally.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Wonderful. So what else? You said I kind of interrupted you as you were
Yeah, that's
sharing.
okay. So for me, that's kind of the big next step and where I see myself going is niching down into women's health and hormone management. For the clinic, or for the whole studio in general, we're continuing to grow. I think just continuing to get more people in and help to bring recognition to our community the value of this and what it means to actually be well. And I think that people are getting a taste, but it is a different concept to do the work, to step in and actually change your life and change your habits. It's not an easy job. So it's a certain population of people who are ready and willing to do that, that are coming to Healing Roots on a regular basis. And anybody's capable of doing the work. So getting the word out, educating people, inspiring people that it's possible for them too. And it's joyful, I mean, sometimes when you first start doing the work, it's a challenge because it's
Sure.
different and it's change and that can feel hard because it's a challenge and different. But just because it's hard doesn't mean that it isn't going to be great, and it will get easier. I mean,
Mhm.
when you start doing the work, it has a compounding effect where then it becomes habit and it just actually becomes easier because the results are great.
Yeah. I feel like in my experience, it's a lot of work at the beginning, and then once you start seeing a little bit of progress, you're like, oh yeah, here we go. And it just makes it so much easier to keep
Yeah,
going.
I
So
liken it to playing an instrument. When you first, and I often use the French horn because it's one of the hardest instruments, right? So when you
uh
pick up a French horn, you're just going to make some weird squeaks. You are not going to make music.
yep.
But if you practice and you practice and you practice, then it becomes really easy. It becomes
Yeah.
second nature, and we ourselves are an instrument and we do need to learn how to play our instrument well. And so I think that to really answer your question, like, what do I see next for the whole center, is continuing to get that word out and educate people and inspire people that they can participate in that too.
Yeah. I feel like we have all these little almost bubbles of like your center and other people, and they're just kind of spreading out as we reach more people. And pretty soon we're gonna have a really big bubble that we all can be
Yeah.
healthier and
Yes.
happier in. So thank you for
Yes.
doing that.
And
I think that's
thriving
amazing. And thriving. Yeah.
and thriving.
Yeah. We don't have to be suffering for,
No.
life doesn't have to be hard. Oh my goodness, people, come on.
No.
Well, yeah, just like you said about menopause, nobody talked about it. And because, oh, I think a lot of the attitude was, well, it's just something you're going to go through. So just, deal with it. But
It's
that's,
just aging.
it's just, yeah, you're just going to go, whatever. But I like that you are also of the mind that we need to educate and help women understand that there are things that we can do to
The
feel
more
better.
you know.
The more you know. Yes. So, Emily, for people who are near to us, do you want to kind of let us know? Do you have a website or do you have a newsletter, or how would you like people to learn more about Healing
Yeah.
Roots and what you're doing?
Um, we have a website, we have a newsletter, we're on social media, Facebook and Instagram. I don't think I can just rattle off the handles for Facebook and Instagram, but
Okay.
the website is healingrootsrf.com. There are links to social media and the newsletter there, and stop in. Happy to give you a tour, say hi, shake your hand, maybe give you a hug if you like it.
Nice.
Um,
Yeah.
But yeah, sometimes just seeing the beautiful studio, it's just
Oh my
so
gosh.
inviting. It's
I
so
was gonna
inviting.
say, can you just describe it a little bit for the audience? Because I just am so
Yeah.
impressed by it. It's so beautiful.
So we have 17-foot tall ceilings in there and an amazing mural that's 30 feet long and 17 feet high. And it is a redwood forest with light coming through the trees. And it's just gorgeous. With a beautiful path that makes you feel like you just want to walk right into the wall.
Yeah. Don't do that though.
No, but it is inviting.
Yeah. I think it's really
And
cool because you've got the mirrors on the other side, and so it's reflected in there, and yeah,
yes,
it's love it. So
yes.
if
So
you're in the
as
area, go check it out.
yes, please, we would love to have you.
Yeah. Well, Emily, this has been amazing. Before we say goodbye, though, is there any one last little nugget of knowledge or information you want to share with our listeners?
I just want to encourage people to understand you can do it. You can be well. It may take work and it may take some support and inspiration, but there are people out there who want to support and inspire you. And when you put your mindset to it, anything's possible.
Love it. Can't say more than that. I love that. Well, Emily, thank you so much. I'm sure that I will see you soon, but thank you for
I would
being on
love
the
that.
podcast.
Yes, thanks for inviting me. Appreciate it so much.
All right, we'll talk to you soon. Thank you for listening to this episode of Midlife with Courage. If you liked what you heard, I would love to have a review, or even better, send a link to a friend. Until next time, take care of your beautiful self.